Hello everyone, welcome back to Changfied YouTube channel, your trusted source for latest update across South Sudan and beyond. Today we bring you very important stories. We have three major stories that continue to shape the political, humanitarian and economic situation in South Sudan. In our first report, we will talk about suspended Petroleum Minister Puot Kang Chuol speak in court and strongly denies accusations that he funded army use involved in the deadly Nasir fighting. In our second report, we'll talk about Doctor Without Border, also known as MSF, is demanding justice 1 year after its hospital in Old Fangak was bombed during the conflict in Jonglei State. And in our final report, we'll talk about former Finance Minister Salvador Gareng sent a warning message to the country's new Finance Minister, saying the ministry come with many serious problems. Before we proceed, if you are new to Changfied YouTube channel, I would like you to tap the channel by subscribing, turn on the notification bell so whenever we upload a new video you can be notified. Let's begin our report with Puot Kang denies supporting White Army in Nasir attack. South Sudan suspended Petroleum Minister Puot Kang Chuol has rejected accusations that he financed army use involved in the deadly fighting in Nasir County in Upper Nile State. The minister appeared before a special court in Juba during hearing connected to the case involving suspended First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar. Puot Kang Chuol is one of several senior political and military figures accused in connection with the violence that happened in March 2025 in Nasir, according to Prosecutors. Army use and opposition linked fighter attack a military base belonged to the South Sudan People Defense Force, also known as SSPDF. The government say hundreds of soldiers were killed during the fighting and military equipment worth millions of dollars was destroyed or taken away. During the court session, prosecutors claimed that Puot Kang helped finance the operation by sending money to individuals connected to the army use group commonly known as the Nuer White Army, but the minister strongly denied all the allegations. Speaking before the judge, Puot Kang said he never sent money to support violence in Nasir. Puot Kang also denied sending $1,500 to Brigadier General Ogdor Chuol for ritual purposes. As claimed by investigators, the minister said the accusations against him were false and politically motivated. He told the court that he had no role in organizing or supporting the attack. According to him, he is being wrongly connected to an event that he did not take part in. The prosecution previously claimed that the minister sent a total of $30,000 to mobilize youth across several areas in Upper Nile State. Investigators also accused him of coordinating cross-border money transfer using mobile banking system and foreign currencies. One claim says money was sent through M-Pesa to an individual who remained missing and wanted by authorities. Another allegation involved money reportedly sent in Ethiopia to a senior SPLA-IU officer. However, Minister Puot Kang Chuol dismissed these claims and questioned the evidence presented in court. He said there were contradictions in the prosecution story. At one point, investigators allegedly claimed the money was for ritual, while another witness reportedly said the money was meant to buy animal for a festival in Wulang County. The minister argued that the claim did not make sense and lacked clear proof. He also denied claim linking the SPLA-IO movement to the Nuer Army militia. According to Puot Kang, Chuol, the two groups are not the same. He explained that the Nuer Army is made up of army youth and is not officially controlled by the SPLA-IO political movement. Well, this statement is important because one of the key arguments by prosecutors is that opposition forces worked together with the Nuer Army during the Nasir attack. The March 2025 fighting in Nasir became one of the deadliest incidents in Upper Nile State in recent years. Government forces said at least 257 soldiers were killed during the attack. Among the dead was a senior military commander named David Majordak. The violence also caused major destruction in the area and increased tension across South Sudan. The case has attracted national and international attention because it involved high-profile political leader and military commander. Puot Kang faced serious charges including treason, terrorism, murder, conspiracy, and crime against humanity. Other accused individuals include Dr. Riek Machar and several senior military figures. Dr. Riek Machar remains under house arrest while other accused persons are being held by security authorities. The court hearing has now been delayed until May 11, 2026, as judges continue examining the evidence and questioning the accused. Many South Sudanese are closely following the trial because they believe the outcome could affect the future of peace and stability in the country. Some people believe the court process is necessary to bring justice and accountability. Others believe the case is politically sensitive and may increase division if not handled carefully. A political analyst says the situation shows how fragile the peace agreement remains in South Sudan. Even year after the signing of peace deal, mistrust between political groups and army forces continue to create tension. Communities in Upper Nile and other conflicted areas or conflicted regions continue to suffer from insecurity, displacement, and fear. For ordinary citizens, the biggest concern is whether leaders can prevent another cycle of violence. Many families who lost relatives during the fighting are still waiting for justice and answer. The government insists that the law must take its course. Opposition supporters, however, argue that all sides should focus on dialogue and national unity. As the trial continues, many observers are asking whether this case will help bring accountability or deepen political tension within South Sudan. One thing is clear, the people of South Sudan are watching very closely. And now from politics and courtroom, we move to a painful humanitarian story that continues to raise serious questions about the safety of medical workers and civilians during conflict. Our second top story is about MSF demand justice after Old Fangak bombing by the SSPDF. International Medical Organization, Doctor Without Border, also known as, or it also known as by the world as MSF, say there has still been no accountability 1 year after its hospital in Old Fangak was bombed by gunship. The organization said the attack happened on May 3, 2025 in Jonglei State. According to MSF, the hospital was clearly marked and its GPS coordinated had already been shared with authorities before the attack. Despite this, the facility was hit during an early morning airstrike by the SSPDF. MSF say helicopter gunship first fired missile at the hospital pharmacy causing a fire that destroyed the building. Later that morning, another strike reportedly hit the local market area. The attack killed at least 7 people and injured many others, including medical workers and patients. At the same time, at the time of the bombing, patients were still receiving treatment inside the hospital. MSF said the hospital has never reopened since the attack. The organization is now demanding accountability and protection for hospital and healthcare workers. According to the MSF, attacks on medical facilities are a violation of international humanitarian law. The group say hospitals should never become target during war or political conflict. MSF President Isabella Defoni called on South Sudan authority to explain what happened and publicly commit to protecting health facilities. The organization said the Old Fangak bombing is not an isolated incident. Since early 2025, MSF say several hospitals and health centers across Jonglei State and other areas have been attacked, looted, or forced to close. The group mentioned another bombing in Lankan in February 2026. It also reported attack and looting in Ulang, Peri, and Akobo. According to MSF, some aid workers were kidnapped during the violence. Many health facilities have stopped operating because of insecurity. MSF say only 2 hospitals its support in Jonglei State are still functioning. They are still functioning. This means many communities no longer have access to surgery, emergency treatment, and or basic health care. The humanitarian situation in these areas is becoming worse. Families already struggling with hunger, displacement, and flooding are now also losing access to medical care. Pregnant women, children, and elderly people are among the most affected. MSF estimates that hundreds of thousands of people have lost access to health care because of attack on hospital and humanitarian facilities. The organization also described worsening conditions in Akobo. According to MSF, people were given only a short time to leave before military operation began. Many residents fled the town, leaving behind homes and belongings. Some elderly people and persons with disabilities were unable to escape. MSF says some people later died from hunger and lack of water. This report paints a very serious picture of the humanitarian crisis facing many communities in South Sudan. Human rights groups and humanitarian organizations continue to call for the protection of civilians. They say both government and opposition forces must respect international law. South Sudan has experienced conflict for many years, and civilians often carry the heaviest burden. Hospitals are especially important during war because injured people depend on them for survival. When hospitals are destroyed, entire communities suffer. Medical workers also face difficult conditions while trying to save life. Many humanitarian organizations say insecurity makes it harder to deliver medicine and support to remote communities. Roads become dangerous, flights are limited, and aid workers face threats. MSF said attack on healthcare create fear among both patients and staff. Some medical workers may decide to leave dangerous areas, making the healthcare crisis even worse. At the same time, civilians continue to suffer from disease, outbreaks, malnutrition, and injuries caused by conflict. According to this report, observers say South Sudan needs stronger protection for humanitarian workers and health facilities. Without medical services, the country's humanitarian crisis could become even more severe. Many people are now asking an important question: who will be held responsible for this attack? So far, there have been no public investigation or legal action announced regarding the Old Fangak bombing. MSF says silence and lack of accountability only increase the risk of future attack. The organization is calling on all parties involved in the conflict to respect the safety of civilian and medical workers. For many families in Jonglei State, the pain of losing loved one and healthcare services remain very fresh. 1 year later, they are still waiting for justice. Now let us turn to the economic, where South Sudan former finance minister is warning that serious challenges continue to face the country financial system. To our third top story, a former finance minister warns successor about economic challenges. South Sudan former Minister of Finance and Planning Salvador Gareng has warned the country new finance minister that the office come with many serious problems. Gareng made the remark while officially handing over the minister to the newly appointed finance minister, called Daniel Ayulo. During the handover ceremony, the former minister spoke openly about the economic difficulties facing South Sudan. He said the country has many natural resources, but the way those resources are managed has not improved the life of ordinary citizens. According to Gareng, South Sudan focused too much on consumption instead of investment. He explained that investment is necessary if the country wants to create a better future for its people. The former minister said people should think more about building long-term economic growth instead of short-term spending. One of the most memorable parts of his speech came when he warned the new minister about the challenges waiting for him. Gareng said the problem would come walking and dancing. His statement quickly attracted public attention because many citizens understand the difficult situation facing the economy. South Sudan continued to struggle with inflation, rising prices, unemployment, and shortage of basic goods. Many families find it difficult to afford food, fuel, medicine, and school expenses. The country also faced pressure from reduced oil production and insecurity in some regions. Oil remains South Sudan's main source of national income. When oil production is disrupted, government revenues also fall. This affects salaries, development projects, and public services. Economic experts say South Sudan needs stronger financial reform and better management of public resources. Corruption, weak institutions, and political instability continue to affect economic growth in South Sudan. At the same time, many young people remain unemployed and frustrated. Citizens often complain about poor roads, weak healthcare system, and lack of educational opportunity. Some analysts believe the new finance minister faces one of the hardest jobs in government. He will need to balance public spending while also trying to stabilize the economy. The government must also work to regain public confidence and attract investment. Gareng's comment reflected the frustration many South Sudanese feel about the country's economic situation. Despite having natural resources, many people still live in poverty. Citizens often ask why life remains difficult, even though the country has oil wealth. Experts say solving these problems will require better planning, transparency, and peace. Without stability in South Sudan, it becomes difficult for business to grow and investors to enter the market. The economy and security situation are closely connected. Conflict damage infrastructure, scares away investors, and increases humanitarian need. Meanwhile, economic hardship can also increase social tension and frustration among citizens. For the new finance minister, expectation will be high. People want to see lower prices, job opportunities, and improvement in public services. Many citizens also hope for better accountability in management of national resources. Whether this goal can be achieved remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: South Sudan economy challenges are large and will not disappear overnight. Those are the major stories making a headline today in South Sudan. We discussed the court case involving suspended Petroleum Minister Puot Kang Chuol and the accusation connected to the Nasir violence. We also look at the MSF call for accountability 1 year after the bombing of its hospital in Old Fangak. And finally, we cover the warning from the former finance minister Salvador Garang about the difficult economic challenges facing the country. South Sudan continues to face political, humanitarian, and economic pressure at the same time. Many citizens are hoping for peace, stability, accountability, and a better future. As always, we will continue bringing you updates and detailed analysis on the story that matter most. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to Changfied YouTube channel, please make sure you subscribe and you turn on the notification bell so whenever we upload a new video, you can be notified. Let's meet on the next video. Thank you.